Hello and welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. What will the latest government U-turns mean for your finances? Plans to help with energy bills are scaled back, along with nearly all tax cuts.
What people want is stability. They want direction, control, and a sense that the government actually knows what they're doing. And we haven't got that, have we?
There are questions too about the Prime Minister's commitment to a new railway station in Bradford. Also tonight, have you been double jabbed? Over 50s are urged to get their flu and COVID vaccinations ahead of winter. The 12-year-old from Bingley finding his voice on the world stage. How the popularity of pumpkin patches is a growing business for Yorkshire's farmers.
Well, it's been another beautiful autumn day. More sunshine tomorrow, but change is afoot later this week. Join me for the very latest.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Anti-poverty campaigners in our region have expressed concern after the new Chancellor announced that a scheme to cap energy bills will be cut from April and not run for 2 years as proposed. Jeremy Hunt says the support will be reviewed so it costs the government significantly less than planned. It was one of a number of changes to last month's controversial mini-budget announced today. Well, our business correspondent Spencer Stokes has been getting reaction to the latest developments and is here for us now. Spencer.
Yes, Amanda, the Chancellor has dismantled most of the policies from the so-called mini-budget and in doing so has probably rewritten the prospects for your finances. Nearly all of the tax cuts announced 3 weeks ago have now been scrapped. The basic rate of income tax will remain at 20 pence indefinitely instead of being reduced to 19 pence. It follows U-turns on tax cuts for high earners and corporations. Only cuts to stamp duty and national insurance will remain in place. There was also a major change on support for energy bills. The cap on prices charged to households is now only guaranteed until April of next year, instead of the 2 years previously promised. It will then be reviewed. Charities in our region have warned that households will be plunged into uncertainty.
That 2 years of certainty that ordinary households right across the country were then able to plan for the future with has just been taken away in one fell swoop. While the support is still there until April next year, there's very low levels of confidence in households right across the country that the promise to prioritise the needs of the most vulnerable households is one that this government can or will even intend to keep.
I didn't speak to anybody that wanted a penny off income tax. And none of my friends, none of my clients really got the idea that what we wanted was tax cuts. What people want is stability. They want direction, control, and a sense that the government actually knows what they're doing. And we haven't got that, have we?
Labour has renewed calls for a windfall tax on the profits of energy companies. We've been speaking to parents in York to get their views on the changes announced today. Do they have any faith left in the government?
We're going to be paying the debts off through the summer and we'll be back to square one again come October next year.
There hasn't been any stability and it doesn't seem like there is going to be stability, and it just doesn't seem like the government actually know what to do.
I don't think Liz Truss knows what she's doing, and I don't think Jeremy Hunt does too. Look what happened with the NHS. He made an absolute pig's ear of that. He's now in charge of the economy.
These are the guys that got us into this situation, and now we're the ones that have to pay for it. You know, there's far more things they could have done which would have made it easier for the people that they've caused the suffering for.
Now, 2 weeks ago, the Prime Minister promised billions of pounds to support a new station in Bradford as part of a high-speed rail link across the north. The Mayor of West Yorkshire told us today she's concerned about that commitment.
Well, it's deeply troubling that nobody can believe a word she says, because everything she stood on, everything that got her elected, has been reneged on. So my concern is that this government aren't fit for purpose, and we have got to have a general election and get people in charge who absolutely know what we need here in the north.
In Parliament this afternoon, the new Chancellor was asked about big infrastructure projects like rail and road schemes. He said he couldn't guarantee anything.
There are very important projects that we all care about a great deal, but given the severity of the situation at the moment, we are not taking anything off the table whether tax increases or spending reductions. But I don't believe it is possible. I don't believe it is possible to have a long-term, credible economic growth strategy that doesn't recognise the vital importance of capital spending.
The pound rose and government borrowing costs fell as investors welcomed today's announcement by the Chancellor. So, some answers, but plenty of tough decisions remain in relation to the country's financial future. Amanda.
Yes, all change again. Thank you very much, Spencer. Next tonight, have you been double jabbed? Over 50s are among the at-risk groups being urged to get their COVID and flu vaccinations ahead of winter amid fears of what's been dubbed a twindemic. It comes as coronavirus infections continue to rise in this region. Our health correspondent Jamie Coulson has been to a vaccination clinic in West Yorkshire.
Be careful, there is an awful lot of COVID flying about.
At this vaccination clinic in Silsden near Keighley, demand for autumn COVID boosters has been high, with over 50s joining the list of patients now able to receive their top-up jabs. It comes as latest data from the Office for National Statistics estimates around 1 in 35 people in Yorkshire and the Humber is infected.
We're going into winter, aren't we? And I think the numbers are going up. I think they're already going up. So, yeah, just to feel safe.
Vulnerable people, particularly at risk, and I think people seem to have sort of gone back to normal, if you will, which isn't helping matters.
I think we should all be protected as much as we can. I really do, and I think people who don't want to be vaccinated are foolish.
Autumn COVID boosters can now be booked by all those deemed most at risk, including all over 50s, care home residents, pregnant women, carers and families of those with weakened immune systems, people with certain underlying health conditions, and frontline health and social care workers.
As we head towards winter, there is not just concern about COVID, but also the prospect of flu creating a so-called twindemic. So all those eligible for a free flu jab are also being urged to make a booking.
We're going to put COVID in the left and flu in the right.
There is significant crossover among those who qualify for both jabs, including all over 50s. Around 26 million people in England are eligible for an autumn COVID-19 booster and 33 million for a free flu jab.
Both conditions are out there, and particularly when we get into the flu season. As always, flu is still hospitalised people every year. Particularly the vulnerable will still be very ill from both flu or COVID. So to cover both illnesses is important.
At this clinic, they can vaccinate around 500 people a day, and with winter coming, they hope demand remains high. Jamie Coulson, BBC Look North.
Well, Dr Yvette Ode is the regional lead for the COVID vaccination programme. I asked her if she was concerned by increasing COVID infection rates.
This time of year is a time when we start to see more infections, more viral infections affecting people. And so it is concerning that we are seeing a rise in COVID infections, because we're also seeing some flu and other respiratory infections. And all of that is putting pressure on people who already have chest conditions, but also on our hospitals and health services.
Now, there's been a lot of focus on these autumn boosters, but there are some people in our region who haven't even had their first vaccination. There's still work to do, isn't there?
There is still work to do, and I am pleased to say that we are still seeing people coming forward for their first vaccination. And we would encourage anybody not to feel uncomfortable about that. We welcome everybody. So yes, there are still people coming forward, but the fantastic news is that we are seeing loads of people come forward for their autumn booster.
We've had some contact Look North to complain about access to the COVID vaccine. Could it be a smoother process?
Well, we can always improve, but we have got lots and lots of sites around the region who are delivering COVID vaccines. They're available in community pharmacies, they're available in some vaccination centres as well as in some primary care centres. But I think our GPs are very busy looking after people who are poorly, and they are also delivering the flu vaccination. So we perhaps have not got the same setup as we had earlier on a couple of years ago for COVID vaccine.
And people were keen to get vaccinated when the first vaccines were rolled out, but do you find there has been some complacency?
No, I don't think so. As I say, we've had over 1.4 million people come forward in our region to have their COVID booster. So I would encourage everybody not to be complacent, because we are still seeing new variants of COVID come along, and the immunity for people who have not been eligible for a spring booster, it might be more than a year since they last had a jab. And so I really would encourage people to come forward, get your immunity boosted so that you are ready to face the winter. If you've got your flu jab and you have got your COVID booster, then you've done the best you possibly can to protect yourself, your family, and our NHS.
Great advice, Dr. Yvette Ode. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Some news in brief now, and a fire which broke out at a high-rise building in Leeds is being treated as arson. 10 fire engines were called to the high-rise building on Rossington Street on Saturday night. Nearby pubs and bars had to be evacuated. No one was hurt. Leeds City Council has thanked the fire service for stopping it spreading to other buildings. The owners of Doncaster Sheffield Airport have told the region's councils they would need almost £20 million of public money to stay open for the next 2 years. In a letter seen by the BBC, Peel says it would need the financial commitment after councils offered £7 million to keep the airport running for another year while a new owner is found. Now, a doctor has criticised the organisation of the Yorkshire Marathon after he struggled to reach York Hospital to see his patients. Thousands of people took part in yesterday's Marathon Festival. It's been going since 2013 and encourages runners to raise funds for good causes. However, cardiologist Dr. Sanjay Gupta said the road closures and diversions delayed him from reaching a patient in hospital for an hour, and stewards struggled to help him find an alternative route.
I eventually spoke to some of the people who were manning this, the barriers, etc. And I said, look, can you please tell me how to get to the hospital? And all of them said one thing: we're not from York, we don't know.
Not great, is it? We have had a response from the York Marathon organisers. They say they followed a detailed procedure for road closures and diversions, which are produced in full consultation with the emergency services and highways authorities before being approved. But you're saying you didn't feel this was put into practice?
No, because at the end of the day, I think it is completely thoughtless to restrict access to a hospital. There is no doubt that there are patients in the hospital who need medical care, who need specialists like me to be available and to be able to get to them as quickly as possible. Now, if you are going to restrict access, you have to have the right personnel available who can guide people who are trying to get to the hospital in a correct way. And after a little bit of negotiation, they let me through. But then after that, I was caught up in another restriction and another restriction. So the point is that, sick patients cannot wait. Sick patients, a person needs help. They should be able to access help in the shortest possible time, regardless of any event.
Now, organisers say they had communicated plans weeks in advance. Had you not had the chance to look at alternative routes ahead of the day?
Yeah, no, I hadn't. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think, again, I would urge the organisers to understand this, that not everyone does, and when you're in that situation, when you're working really hard, as we all are, and you're called in and you need to get in there, you just need to get there. Now, I appreciate that they want to close things, but they should have personnel there who can guide you properly. And for me as a doctor, I carry that on my conscience if I cannot get to a patient. And it makes me feel incredibly helpless when I'm like this.
Dr. Gupta, thank you for your time this afternoon. We'll let you get back to work.
Thank you.
Well, organisers Run for All say the Yorkshire Marathon route is approved by a safety advisory group, which includes the emergency services. They ensured 2 main roads remained open for the entire duration of the event to allow access to the hospital at all times. And they will conduct a thorough post-event review, taking into account all feedback and make changes where required. Now we're on to the sport. Lots to talk about, Mark.
Plenty on tonight. First of all, though, the sacking of Doncaster Rovers manager Gary McSheffrey with the club 12th in League Two. Rovers have lost 3-0 at Carlisle at the weekend, and they've picked up just 7 points from their last 8 games. McSheffrey was also in charge when Rovers were relegated last season. The club have described their results in League Two as largely positive, but they say there's been a lack of progress. Conversely, new Rotherham United manager Matt Taylor tasted victory for the first time at the expense of Huddersfield Town. The Millers went ahead through Connor Washington's sweet strike. Town were soon level when ex-Rotherham striker Danny Ward stroked in. Less than 3 minutes after coming off the bench, Georgie Kelly won it for Rotherham. Huddersfield are second bottom of the Championship. The Millers are in 16th. Meanwhile, Sheffield United fans must have thought they had the points in the bag when they went 2-0 up at home to Blackpool through James McAtee and Iliman Ndiaye. Blackpool turned the tie though, scoring 3 goals. Rehan Brewster then missed this penalty. But 8 minutes into injury time, and Ollie Norwood, he kept his eyes on the ball and struck an equaliser. I've not even mentioned the post-match brawl and 4 red cards, 2 of them after the final whistle. You can see here Blades goalkeeper Wes Fotheringham saw red. Into League One, and Sheffield Wednesday travelled to Cambridge United. Just 6 minutes in and Lee Gregory put Wednesday ahead. And then Gregory did it again late on with a well-placed volley. The Owls are perched comfortably in 3rd place in the table. In League Two, Bradford City came out on top at promotion rivals Salford City. Andy Cook scoring his 13th goal of the season, which was enough to win it. That's a 4th consecutive away win for the Bantams. And good news too for Harrogate Town, who have, having lost 9 of the last 10 matches, they beat fellow strugglers Hartlepool. Harrogate went ahead through Alex Patterson, and they doubled their advantage on the stroke of half-time when Jack Muldoon headed in. It finished 2-1 to Town. And the Rugby League World Cup continues in our region. Tonight it's South Yorkshire's turn to play host as France take on Greece in Doncaster. Our man Tom Ingle is there, so I'll pass over the metaphorical egg-shaped ball to him from Leeds. Tom, how's it looking?
Thanks, Mark. Keep your egg-shaped ball out of this. Thanks very much indeed. Now, the players are on the pitch, warming up already at the Eco Power Stadium. This is the first of 3 games that Doncaster is hosting. The city very much at the heart of the Rugby League World Cup action because Samoa, the national team, are based here. They've already been doing workshops and sporting games in local schools. What was really exciting for me as a non-rugby fan is as I arrived tonight, there are lots of young people, lots of young families already arriving. There was a huge buzz in the air. There's a huge crowd in from Tolbar Rugby Club and the Mayor Ros Jones, and I pushed them as hard as you'd expect on who's going to win tonight.
Very excited.
I wouldn't think it'd happen.
Yeah.
I didn't think it'd come to Doncaster. It's my ever first match seeing Greece and France play.
Who's going to win?
Greece.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You seem very confident about that.
It'll be a good influence to make other people start rugby.
Which team do you think is going to win tonight?
Greece.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Why?
Don't know.
Massive, because it's fetching money into town, it's getting rugby league out there, it's getting rugby out there, and it's good to be hosting World Cup.
We're delighted, and when you think that they've been out there working with our schools as well, the Samoans, and international event and the excitement through the town, which is great. It lifts spirits.
Now, you know your Maryland impartiality and all that, but is it France or Greece tonight?
Listen, the best one will win.
Oh, thank you, very diplomatic. Kick-off is at 7:30. Children are here already waving the flags of all nations competing. Fans filling up the stand. It's going to be a great night here at the Eco Power. I've got no tips for you except to say the Greek team bus was bigger and pointier than the French team bus. That's the expert analysis, Mark.
Thank you very much, Tom. Who knows, that might be a sign of things to come this evening. Amanda, a month more of rugby action, lots of it happening in Yorkshire.
Wonderful. Look forward to that. Thank you very much, Mark. Now, the Autism's Got Talent Awards have just taken place in London, celebrating the best performers from across the world, no less. 12-year-old Charlie from Bingley likes to sing, and he was picked as one of the 20 finalists to perform on stage. Despite his tender age, he picked an absolute classic hit to sing, and Charlie came to see us earlier with his mum, Katie.
It was absolutely amazing. Anna Kennedy's so supportive. Everyone there was so supportive. It was such a blast, and singing in front of that many people, normally that'd be quite scary, but with help from all the lovely people there. It's been so nice.
And Anna Kennedy was the lady who organised it, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And Katie, just tell me, what was it like to meet so many other families?
It was so lovely to meet so many different families at such a positive event, which was showcasing the talents of individuals, children, adults with autism, because a lot of the time you wear just the negatives. So it was so lovely to see so much talent and in such an happy environment.
Yeah. And Charlie, can we talk about the song choice, Bohemian Rhapsody? One of my personal favourites. I too know every word. Why Queen?
It's my favourite band. I absolutely love Queen. They're just the style, they're just worlds apart from most other bands.
I absolutely agree with you on that. Can you give us a little taste of it now?
Mama, ooh, didn't mean to make you cry.
Wow. Well, I was going to join in, but I think I'll leave that one to you. That was fantastic. Did you always know you had such a good singing voice?
Not always.
Where's this talent come from then? What was it like to be on the stage? Because it's not something you've done on a regular basis.
It was quite strange. I've never been on a stage that big. I've never been in front of that many people singing. I mean, I have performed before, but not in very big venues, not been in a theatre before performing.
And you got a certificate as well, just to show how good you are. And you were one of 20 children and adults picked from across the world. There is the certificate. You were all finalists, you were all winners. Has it given you the confidence to go on and do more singing when you get older?
Yeah, definitely.
Any other song choices?
Maybe other songs by Queen, like We Are the Champions, Who Wants to Live Forever. I'm going to think of other songs.
Well, they've got quite a back catalogue to go at, haven't they?
Yeah, Somebody to Love, just any Queen song, basically.
Wonderful. Well, I hope we'll be welcoming you back in the future. You've obviously got a talent. It was lovely to meet you both today. Thank you very much, and best of luck with this fabulous singing career.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, what a superstar. Now I have some company in the studio. With Halloween fast approaching, it's a busy time for a farm near Pontefract. Robert and Heather Copley first planted pumpkins in 2008, and now they harvest nearly 250,000 of them every year. They're so busy, they say it's even more important than Christmas. Kathy Killick reports.
Pumpkins are a relatively recent crop for this Pontefract farm, but it seems they like the soil here, so the farmer kept on growing them. But they're not the only thing to expand. Pumpkin-related events now make a festival of it, and thousands of people now take part.
It's unbelievable. About 15, 16 years ago, me and Heather went out to America and we saw they're doing it, and we wondered if it'd work over here. So I did try a few pumpkins in the field, and people really got on board with it and enjoyed it, and we just grew it every year. It doubled every year until you're in what you see today, which is 50 acres of pumpkins and 6,000 people a day visiting the patch.
So let's talk numbers then. How many pumpkins do you grow?
So we planted about 200,000 plants this year. On a good year, you'll get 1.4 pumpkins per plant. Because of the drought this year, we've probably got more than 1 pumpkin per plant, but there's still plenty of pumpkins to go about.
You can tell how much they've got into it. This is Heather, the other farmer in this farming couple, also known as the not-so-wicked Witch of the West. She's all part of the attraction they've built here.
We start planning in January, and then as it gets closer and closer, we get more and more excited, and everything turns more orange, and then we've got all the different varieties, and the whole business celebrates the season. It is very much about the season and autumn, not scare. I'm probably the scariest thing that you'll find here, but it is really about celebrating the actual harvest.
Although American-inspired, the farm sources all it can from right here in Yorkshire and can see other farmers following suit. 6,000 people visited this weekend, and it's easy to see why. With roller coasters and plenty of cute photo opportunities, it's become an autumn day out for families. Not bad for what started as a little old pumpkin patch. Kathy Killick, BBC Look North, Pontefract.
Yeah, not bad at all. And what a beautiful day.
Hasn't it been absolutely stunning? Just have a look at this picture that a viewer sent in from Bridlington. It looks like the Mediterranean.
Oh, I
look
tell
at
you.
that. 18 degrees in
Gorgeous.
quite a few places, actually. 64 Fahrenheit. A lot more sunshine to come tomorrow, but changes afoot later this week. So another lovely day to come tomorrow. Lots of sunshine right across our region. But it looks like certainly during Thursday, this weather front will bring outbreaks of rain up from the southwest, clearing later, and then another one comes through during Friday. So a big change to much more unsettled and at times wet weather later this week. But there's a satellite picture from today. Virtually the entire region bathed in sunshine. So it's going to be a largely clear night to come. The wind will eventually ease down, so there'll be some mist and patchy fog, even perhaps a touch of ground frost, and we're looking at lowest temperatures rurally down to 2 or 3, elsewhere 4 or 5 degrees. So tomorrow's high water times, another cracker along the coast, Filey at 10 minutes past 11. So some mist and patchy fog first thing, that will soon clear, and then it's another beautiful morning with unbroken sunshine. A bit of a breeze from the northeast, especially across eastern areas. May well pick up a bit of patchy cloud later in the day, but nonetheless, lots of sunshine, especially across more central and western parts of our region. Now, today we've had 18, tomorrow nearer 15, so not quite as mild, but certainly a lovely feel to tomorrow's weather. Now, Wednesday, the transition day, more cloud, the risk of a shower, but I think it's Thursday when it turns much more unsettled. Some rain spreading up from the southwest through the morning, clearing later. Rains again on Friday, and the hint is we could see further patchy outbreaks of rain during the weekend, and that, Amanda, is the forecast.
Thank you very much, Paul. From Paul, the Pumpkins and me, have a lovely evening. Thanks for watching.